everybody. Spirit of 420 here. Tonight, my guest, and by the way, I did see big King Lucky. What's up, man? Just to give a quick shout out. What's up, King Lucky? He's going to be on Friday. Today's guest is Ragnar, and I'm bringing on here just a quick second. Just want to say hello to everybody. Spirit of 420 here, because everything I do is so 420, including having badass dudes like Mr. Ragnar from Odin's Call. How's it going, Ragnar?
What's going on, everybody? How are you?
Beautiful Saturday night. I've been going. Thank you again for being here tonight. I don't know if anybody got a chance, but tonight's episode is an evening with Ragnar. We were going to talk about loss, grief, afterlife, and the other subjects that come naturally with those things. So let's just start at the beginning and go right with it. Ragnar, most people know, and I'll say it again for people who don't, but most people know my loss. What loss have you experienced? You know, some of the ones that you would say rang out the hardest, that did the most damage, or in that turn caused the most change and ultimately did the most good.
Well, I lost my dad when I was 13.
I think you told me this on one of our episodes when we were talking about ghosts. Remember we had the conversation about ghosts. That's one of the things we talked about.
And then and that came as a massive shock. He was 33 years old at the time. So Jesus. That came out of nowhere, and it just kind of turned the whole world upside down.
Yeah.
And 12 years ago, almost exactly 12 years ago, actually, my mom passed away from colon cancer. And
you were in your 20s?
30s.
30s.
Yeah, 32, I think I was at the time.
Wow.
And my wife had a fetal demise at 7 months. That was soul crushing. So
yeah, was
that I'm pretty
your
familiar
first,
with the topic?
Was that your first pregnancy? Okay, so that makes it, quite honestly, I and I'm a father, so I've gone through a few, and I have 4. 2 of them came at once, and then I got 2 more. I believe it would be more soul crushing having already had a child. Had I not had a child ever and went through that for my first pregnancy, I feel like would be not nearly as crushing, because I don't quite know what I'm missing. Does that make sense? I didn't ever cross the finish line. So it's kind of like getting a touchdown taken away. I know that's a horrible analogy, but if you've never crossed the fucking goal line, you don't know what it is to score a touchdown. So you don't know what it is to have one taken away from you.
Right.
But if you've scored one many times, right, or even just once, and then you got one and it was taken away, it's crushing. It's when you've had something that you've had. That's when I believe the loss is even greater. Truly.
Yeah. So
you lost both parents, though. Wow, both parents and a child, both up and down, sir. I am so that's just so you know, a friend of mine, one of the boys that calls me Pops now, who was a close friend of, I don't know how much you know, but almost exactly 2 months before Skylar died. Skylar, just so if everybody's watching for the first time, that was what I lost. I lost a son, 22 years old. But his friend, almost exactly 2 months before, he went and drove to Florida and picked up one of his best friends, Matt. Well, I only recently came to find out, because it was, within weeks, obviously, of Skylar's passing, that this young man he just turned 23 in December. So by the time when Skylar died, he was still only 22 as well, is my point. But he's had 13 people in his small amount of time on this life, including a father that he lost at 13, by the way. But at 13 he lost a father, but he's also had if I'm not, maybe it's 11, but Jesus, even to have double figures of loss, right, by the time you're only 22, that and it's funny because you can see it in him, and what I mean by that is this was one of the worst losses I've taken. Not the first, but one of the definitely the worst, the closest to me. You know what I mean? Child, parent kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I do find it to be that the worst, and I've had others, but you can tell that he's a little numb to it. Not in a bad way. I'm just saying he's already had to process so much loss so quickly at such a, over the last 9 years, he's lost almost someone or 2 people every year. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, and that's a real thing, and it's there's people that experience a whole lot of loss young have a tendency to be, well, they go one of two ways. They either melt down or
Get a
they
thick skin.
or they tend to get a little bit more stoic and accepting of things and
He's extremely stoic he's not even trying to be, and he just walks around with this just almost stoic attitude about him. He just turned 23, like I say, and you would think, it's funny because I used to pick on him. And then I'm going to let you rant because when you said that, it just made me think, like, I used to pick on him for being really high, and I thought that that's what it was with Matt, that he was just a burnout at a young age, right? And I now understand that he's quiet and just kind of listening to everything because he's been through so much, and that, like you say, it takes you one way or the other. You can either become nothing with it, or you can, grow a thick skin, become somewhat stoic, and move on in life. And in fact, your experience helps others. His experience has already helped me, and I'm more than twice his age.
Right.
But talks with him have been very, very crucial. Please, I'll shut up for a minute. I swear. I know I'm horrible. I hadn't had you on the show for a while. I've missed you.
No, that's what it is, though, right? Is you get people that you've got people that, and please take this in the spirit in which it's intended, and I don't want anybody to take offense at this, but there are some people that just can't handle it, and they lose their shit.
Yes.
And as a result of it, they just can't function, and there's a little bit of weakness that's associated with that.
It's not,
and sometimes it's and it should be.
There's a weakness, but it's not. I don't think it's one. I wouldn't necessarily. What's the word? Bar somebody for it, or consider them weaker. I would consider they didn't have the tools by the time this happened. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but here's the thing, and it's real, right?
Right.
Everybody has loss. Everybody will have loss.
Everybody's going to be lost.
Everybody's going to be lost to someone at some point, for sure. Yep. And the reality of that is, there's a lot of people out there that, particularly in this modern age now, that have convinced themselves that if they're upset about something, that everybody needs to fall in line behind them, and that they can be upset in perpetuity and they can let that rule their lives. And you can't. Not if you want to have any kind of a meaningful existence, right?
No.
You've got to be able to, at some point, and when grief, when loss is fresh, you should, by all means, take time and
mourn. You have to
go through it.
Yes, you have to.
But at the same time, you have to recognize, okay, it's been 2 months. Am I feeling a little better now today than I was 2 months ago?
Like I want to read this to you when you're done. Keep
going. It's just, am I getting a little better every day? And if you're not, then
one day. The whole reason we
gotta go get some help.
One day at a time is not just for drug addicts and alcoholics.
Right.
One day at a time. And I kid you not, man. I feel like the steps of grieving should be spelled out for people in very similar fashion. The only thing you really don't have to worry about doing is taking amends of yourself and apologizing to people with the grief, right? Because you're usually, although let me say, some people's grief turns them into no different or worse the asshole than a fucking alcoholic who is raging. And I'm sure you would agree.
Sure. 100%.
But I wrote this the other day. Oh, you mother humper. Damn it. Keep going. I was on the page and then it went all the way back to the beginning. So keep talking, sir. I'll come back to it.
I don't even know where I was, to tell you the truth. But
we were talking about in 2 months, 1 day at a time. That was where we left off. I was saying 1 day at a time on your 2 month thing.
You've got to recognize one way or another, right, that your grief is permanent, but it should subside a little bit after a while.
And it's nobody else's fault.
Right.
There's a lot of people that when I say a lot of people, I'm going to sit here and be very gut level honest. There's a piece of me almost every day, Ragnar, almost every day, that wants to be like, how the fuck are you people not so upset for me? I have lost everything, right? I said a piece of me because, we have to fight the negativity. And my negative shit really comes down in the nighttime for me. Like when I go to sleep and wake up, I really, the one small positive thing in the morning is so more important to me than ever before right now, because the nighttime is when the demons come, right? That's, I don't know how else to say it, but I wrote this the other day and I think you'd get a kick out of it. This was just like, I just wrote this on the 22nd because it was exactly on the 22nd, was 5 months since I had lost Sky, right? So I wrote, over the last 5 months, I've lost ... My 22-year-old son, Skylar, to a fatal motorcycle accident. His twin brother to a flawed penal system. My best bud and business partners, plus my longtime job. The pain hurts, unimaginably so, and I feel every bit of it. However, ... Over those same 5 months, I've gained ... Spiritual enlightenment. Dozens of young adults who now call me Pops, who also look to me for life advice and experience, and a new and different appreciation for life. Pain and joy are dependent upon each other. One may not exist without the other. And it is due to this pain and joy that I'm now stronger than I've ever been. This is because I love God and myself. Better days and happier times right around the corner. And then I did extend it because I didn't want anybody to get the wrong idea. Like, in regard to the above text, please know I'm not looking for pity or condolences. My entire point was to show the balance. True happiness comes from loving one's self and accepting the horrible with the wonderful. Here's to you. Have a blessed, lifted day.
Yeah,
I will.
Yeah. Now I remember I think you posted that on Twitter that I have recently retired from. I will not participate in Twitter anymore. But
that sucks because I took your picture. Did you notice the thumbnail tonight? I took it from one of your better picture. Your picture. You were in the car.
I mean, you still have the picture. It's cool. It's
as
cool.
long as you don't mind me. I'm not going to stop following you, man. You're never going to do Twitter again? Are you over it because
I don't know. No, I just
be earnest, dude. We only talk earnest here. You know that.
Well, I have. Well, here's the deal, right? I have like 11,000 Twitter followers, right? And I post something, and okay, I'm a clown on the internet. I get that, right? I talk a lot of shit, and I have a lot of fun with it, and whatever. But now that they've got all of these tools to show you, this many people have seen it. Well, I have 11,000 followers on Twitter apparently, and 500 people see my shit, right? Nobody really interacts with it, and it makes me feel like I'm just kind of shouting into an echo chamber, and that's not what I want to do with my life. So I'm just kind of done with it for the.
I'll give you
now
my side.
Anyway.
No, I get it. I don't think you should kill your account for sure. Number one, I believe that something will happen with the ownership of it over the next 5 years that will either, and when I say the ownership, either the current owner will come to his senses and fix things over the next 5 years, because it's going to take him a while. I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of the problem with Twitter, and I mean this because they show your tweet more to people you wouldn't realize that are not your followers. So a lot of those views are not people who even follow you, right? Which I get. I want them to show those too, but they're not showing up on all kinds of things. There's so many problems right now. And I've talked about this, so I'm not going to talk about it again. I'll just tell you very quickly. I literally looked it up. Since Elon took over, they have lost 80% of the workforce. They're down to 1,300 employees at Twitter, one of the largest websites in the world. 1,300 fucking employees, and only 550 of them are fucking actually electronic engineers.
Sounds about right.
So that's why, and like, dude, I will post something, I will comment to somebody who is actually somebody I interact with. And let me tell you how bad it is. Nobody sees my comments. I don't even think you do. I literally go to them now and I comment and I wait a whole day, because usually within a couple hours, maybe 5 hours, they'll be like, loved your comment. You know what I mean? Because I literally said something to them. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But they won't see it. And I'll literally send them, be like, hey man, just to let you know, I really liked it. I retweeted it even, and I commented. They're like, they never fucking told me. So I think that the problem right now, in my humble opinion, is that Twitter is being run by, essentially a moron. He's broken it. And until it's fixed, there's a lot of problems. But why I will keep it, I met you. Everybody I've had on the show, I actually met on Twitter because I found them, and I found people that had a YouTube channel that I also liked and said, hey man, so with the connection building, I can't short it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
I get it. It's a pain in the ass.
Well, and the other thing was, a couple months ago, I caught like I think I was off of Twitter for like a week because I asked my male friend who I know really well to show me his tits, and they were like, oh, yeah.
Which is a total joke.
They locked up my account, and he actually he actually posted a picture of himself in a fishnet crop top,
which Twitter had a problem with, right?
And so I don't know. I just the censorship is on my nerves. Yep. The shadow banning or whatever you want to call it. And I'm not the conspiracy theorist type, but it leads me to one of two conclusions as it pertains to Twitter. Either people don't like the shit that I post on the internet, which is there's a good likelihood that might be the case.
I mean, I fucking hate it.
or they don't they're taking their Twitter Blue customers and saying this is all people are going to see all day long. So pay us $8 and go fuck yourself. I'm not doing it. So
it's not that, dude. I pay my $8. I have a business account. I did those things because of the benefit that I get of extended videos and things like that you get, right? With the $8 that is.
Yeah.
The business, you just get some better benefits in the sense of having your channel at the top. But yeah, I did that, and I think I've either correct me if I'm wrong. So, and I mean this, but isn't shadow banned the concept that if you're talking shit about him, then he's like basically not posting your stuff or showing it to you?
It's just if they think that your content might be a little inflammatory, they have a tendency to not push it out to as many people. And
I think I think that's part of it because, dude, I don't have as many as you, but I'm about to top 6,000 followers. And 2 or 3 months ago, before his takeover, that's all I can say, I would post when I only had 2,500 and shit would go like mini viral in the sense that I would get hundreds of likes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm lucky if I get 13 people to like something now, unless I fucking tag 13 people, and then it might have get a little fire going under it, if you will.
Right.
But yeah, I've definitely felt something being different, and I do pay the $8. I'm about done with it too, because get this, every time I change my profile pic or my bio, right, or my banner, if I change any one of those three things, they take away the blue check mark for like 4 days to re-verify the account. What the fuck, dude? I'm not allowed to change. I mean, like, I could honestly handle that if I changed my name all the time,
right,
or the handles or the email address behind it all, right? But not the fucking bio or the pics, for God's sake. Shit changes. I have new artwork every 3 months.
Right.
Yeah, I'm about done with it. All right, so back to Lost. We're going to lose Twitter. So you were 13. You were 33. With something, you got some threes going on in your life too, because you said your dad was 30, or you were 32 when your mom died. Your dad was 33 when he passed, and you were 13 when your dad passed. How old was your mom when she passed?
52.
52. Okay, so at least she had some life behind her. She's a little older than I am now. But she died of, you said, colon cancer, if I
so it was,
that's horrible.
So it was a long endeavor.
How many years did she fight? Because my uncle had one, I believe it was liver or kidney. It's one or the other. And I wish my mom was here because she would know for a fact. He fought for, I think 3.5 years. How long did your mom?
It was about a 5-year journey for her.
5 years.
Of it's gone, it's back, it's gone, it's back, it's gone, and it's never coming back. Everything looks great. Oh shit, there's nothing else we can do. You're nothing else. Die.
Yep, that's exact. That was his was up and down. Although I will say this, I'll give my uncle credit. They told him in the beginning he had 6 to 18 months. The man lived another 3 years and 9 months from when they said that he wasn't going to make it past 1.5 years.
Right.
So I'll give him kudos to that, because they started off with like the most negative scenario, in my opinion, because they're like, you're going to fucking die in 6 months to 1.5 years, you're dead. Right. And he ended up living, no offense, man, but I tried to talk to him a couple times, but I didn't want to hurt his feelings. And what I mean by that is I didn't want to, when he is in a positive place, the last thing that I needed to be doing was, hey man, how do you feel about being told you're going to die? Right. And have those conversations. But the few times that we had the conversation, that would be really, I would almost rather not be told on one hand, but on the other hand, I can understand where I'd want to know so that I live life a little differently. But I would also be living life the moment I live past an expiration date, right? It would feel like a blessing on one hand, and when is death coming on the other?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I get what you're saying. And you know, and here's the thing, right? I would almost see my dad died in a car accident, and it was very unexpected. And
like my son did, very similar to what my son did.
Yeah. So it was a thing. And
right.
But it came as a complete and utter shock. And I would have preferred for my mom to have gone the same way.
Right.
Because to watch her suffer like that was miserable.
To what, dude, let me just say this. Not only watching my uncle suffer, but watching my mother and his other sisters, watching the siblings who are all the matriarchs and patriarchs of the generation, watching them suffer with him, right? Watching his wife suffer. And what's funny is this is a man, I have to share, this is a man who had actually been through loss, because my cousin, his son, died in his 30s. He was 32, dude. And get this, it was sudden, it was quick, except this was a giant. This motherfucker was like 6'3", 6'4", and had too much body for his heart, and went to sleep and had a heart attack at 32 years old. But that was his son, who he lived. So Johnny was probably, I'm trying to remember his age, but I don't think he was but 18 when his son was born. So he still lived another 20 years after his son's death. And it was funny. I learned a lot from him, and I didn't even realize that I was learning from him. I had no idea. And I'm sure you're going to get this, but here's a man who I had several conversations about losing. I loved his son. We were close, you know. And that was one of the first big losses for me. The best thing about it was sudden, and we hadn't seen each other in like 3 years, so the blow was dull. Does that make sense? And you know, yeah. But the love, I mean, like he was one of the cousins that I grew up with in the summers. You know what I mean? And like we would have you get it, like a brother. Yeah. I didn't have any brothers. He was one of the closest things I ever had to a brother.
Yeah.
So had several conversations with Johnny about, you know, losing a son. I had no idea that these were in prep to deal with it myself. You know, it's funny because I believe everything happens for a reason. I know I've told you that before, but I now believe that the whole reason I started all of this shit, doing, you know, talking to folks and doing the podcast and telling my stories, was so I would make it through Skylar. No shit. If I had not done all that, I did so much additional growth from this show. I can't even tell you, dude. Like, and it's I can't explain it other than to say it's one thing to talk it. It's another thing when you start walking it in everything that you do, or at least trying to as best you can, right? Yep. To be an honorable, what I consider to be righteous man.
Right.
You know? And it's weird that I even give a shit about that. That all started the moment that I held those two in my hands 22 years ago, you know?
Yep.
That's why I say too, what was the change like for you? Because you have 3 kids, am I right? 3?
I have 6 kids.
6 kids.
Yep.
Sorry. What was it like? You're good. What was it like when you held the first one in your hands? Do you remember that moment? Since we're talking about loss, let's talk about some of the great gains too.
It was I mean, I was obviously just instantaneously in love, but I was also terrified. You know, I had my first one when I was I had my first one when I was 19. Jesus. Right. So
I was 28, dude, and I still was fucking scared shitless, just so you know, brother. The fear I don't know if it's worse than when you're older because when you're younger, you're fearless, like there's a part of you that's like, fuck it, I could take on the world. So, but yeah, keep going.
No, but there was also this thing that kind of woke up inside of me, this man thing, particularly with a little girl. And, it was, nobody better ever fuck with this kid.
Yep.
Right. And,
the protection, the immediate blanket of protection engages as that, nothing.
Funny story.
This, and I'm not going to let anybody go.
You'll love this. 3 days later, I'm back at work. Right. And I was working in this little telemarketing room, setting appointments for home improvement sales stuff.
God, I got to tell you when they were born. Go.
So we're sitting out on the dock. It's smoke break time, and this other kid that was working there, he's like, "Hey man, I heard you just had a kid." And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "Cool, man. Is it a boy or a girl?" And I go, "Girl." And he goes, "Oh, thanks for bringing fresh meat into the world."
Oh my God, did you beat his ass right there?
And before he barely had,
just right to the neck.
No, he barely had meat into the world done before I'd punched him in the face.
Oh my God. And that sounds exactly like what you would do. And deservedly so, dude. You don't say that to a new father of a girl.
And the crazy part is I didn't even realize I'd done it until it was already done.
It was
just
instinct.
It was automatic.
Instinct. For the people, it was automatic. You taught that dude a lesson, by the way. Let me just say, thank you.
I hope so. But he's holding his face, and he's like, "I'm calling the police and whatever." And I'll never forget it. This old guy that worked there, Jack Goldenberg, tallest, most stereotypically Jewish dude you've ever seen in your life. Looks like Gargamel from the Smurfs.
Oh
right?
My God! Yep.
And he always wore all black, so it was even worse, right? I was like, "Where is your cat?" And but Jack was the coolest old dude in the world. And he goes, "I don't think you're calling the police." And the guy goes, "Why not? He just assaulted me." He says, "I didn't see that. I saw you take a swing at him, and then he just punched you in the face. I mean, it was self-defense, obviously."
Let me just say, for a man, and if you want to say there's a double edge or a double standard, there absolutely is. A woman says that, you're not going to hit her, okay?
No.
You're not going to hit her. For one, it would be funny if a woman said it. I'm just being honest, number one, because that would be a total flip on the whole script, right? But if a man says it, that is taking a swing at you. He literally took a virtual swing with that comment, dude. Like, when I said it a minute ago, first of all, to say that to a brand new father is horrible. After I said that, I'm like, when would you ever say that to somebody you considered a friend who had a father of a daughter? Like, even when she's 18, right? Like, honestly, the daughter turns 18 and she's now legal for any man, right? The last thing you would want to do is go tell the father, "Wow, way to put some what is jailbait out there." You know what I mean? That would be the equivalent to it, and it still would be inappropriate.
It would, it wouldn't go well.
You wouldn't say that to any father of a daughter, and you'd have to be careful saying that these days. And what I mean by saying that is saying something equally derogatory about a male baby. You understand what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Now, 20 years ago, you could have got away with that, but that's another story altogether.
Yeah. It's definitely not fucking 20 years ago anymore.
Oh, dude, everything is so politically.
We live in the weirdest, most clown-shaped world I've ever seen in my entire life. It's wild.
And dude, and I mean nothing by this, only that I have 6 more years of vision. Just wait till you hit 50, because you're going to look at it like, I can't believe I've walked this shit for 50 fucking years and I'm still here. I mean, no offense, I'm not trying to leave, but like, it awes me at times, Ragnar, that I am still here. Truly. It truly awes me.
Me too. I'm not that far behind you, brother.
I know. I thought you were 44, or are you 46?
Yeah.
44. Okay. Yeah, you're not. That's what I'm saying. Like, I have about a half a decade on you in the sense of seeing shit. And trust me, dude, I'm just telling you, I've seen some extra shit in those 70s, because it was really cool back. Like, you were born then in what, 78? Is that right? 78.
Yeah.
It was really cool at that time. It started getting fucking weird when Reagan took over. I'm not kidding. That was with Reaganomics and the whole way that the 80s was just, man, it was crazy. And by the 90s, it was too late, man. It was, what was done, and it was leading us to where we are now. That's all I can tell you. That's the way I see it anyway, personally. The damage started so long ago because here's the thing, man. It's our generation and it's the generation above us that has made it so fucking crazy that you can't say anything. Think about it. It's our parents, mad, sad, all the fucking lyric shit. All that came from our parents, bro. You understand? And then our generation was tagging on like, yeah, you just can't say, I don't want you to it's back to like what the way people looked at Elvis when he first started gyrating. We're back to that again. We can't have the hips going or any twerking going on the television show. I'm sorry. Yeah. Definitely no twerking by a white woman. Let me just say that.
Yeah, no, there's that too. And that's the kind of shit that drives me nuts, right? Is it used to be it used to be that people had differences and they celebrated their differences.
Yes.
And they borrowed some of the differences because they were like, hey, I like that thing about you. That's cool. Right.
And you know what? I actually really never agreed with this other viewpoint. Thank you for showing me a different way.
Yeah.
How many times did you say that growing up where you're like, I never thought about it like that?
I had a moment here, about a month ago, I guess. Yeah.
Yep.
Where this guy was giving me shit for having braids in my hair. He was telling me that's cultural appropriation. I go, it's called a Dutch braid, right? What do you mean? What am I appropriating?
At 2001, which just to remind everybody is 22 years ago, I had cornrows in my hair.
Yeah.
Was that appropriating?
No.
But that guy would say so.
That guy would say so for sure.
Yeah, clearly. If he said that your French braid which, by the way, just so you know, brother, I mean, I have to tell you this just from one. I've been wearing a French braid since my hair was long enough to do it. I just haven't had long hair in years. But the moment I had hair, I remember like asking chicks, braid my hair like that. Like, it's not quite long enough. You can't do it yet. You got to get it long. I was living for the moment to be able to French braid that shit because I didn't like putting it together and doing a braid at the base. I didn't like the old school just braid. I was like, every time I saw it, I just felt like Ted Nugent when I put that.
Oh, my hair's long, right? So sometimes I just want to get it out of I want to not have to worry about it for a few days.
Dude, I braided mine all the time.
But it was good that we ended up having a cultural conversation because I was like, well,
did you put him in his place?
Hold on a second. How am I appropriating anybody's culture by having braids in my hair? And he's like, well, this is and the fucked up part is this is a white guy who's getting offended about it.
I was just about to say, right? This doesn't sound like
I've never had
saying this to you.
I've never had a black person ever say anything about it other than, man, who did your braids? That looks good.
That's exactly the same thing I had, by the way, at cornrows 22 years ago. I didn't get shit for it. They were like, who did your hair? And I was like, this black chick down here in the fucking I was like, she did it.
Yeah. So, we and you know me, kind of my personality is, oh, okay, let's have a conversation about that. Right. What do you mean? What's offensive about it? And whose culture am I appropriating by braiding my hair? And he's like, well, this is a traditionally black thing. And I go, it's a traditionally Dutch thing, asshole.
Yeah. Actually,
right?
If you want to be technical, traditionally came from white because that's the kind of hair that you can braid that way. No offense to any black person, but they don't have the hair unless they straighten it in order to put a French braid in.
Well, I mean, that was my whole logic, though, is it's literally called a Dutch braid. That's what's in my hair right now. So, and by the way, why are you even upset about it?
You're white.
This has absolutely nothing to do with you. Right, but he was bent about it. Oh, yeah. That's cultural appropriate. Fuck you. What if I turn on the radio in your car right now?
Work with this person?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I asked him. I'm like, so if I get in your car and I turn on the radio right now, are there going to be any musicians there that aren't your race?
Yeah.
And he's like,
or that are.
It's like, well, yeah. And I go, well, listening to that music then is cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm listening to Todd Anthony Shaw, aka Too Short, I'm not appropriating culture. I'm enjoying the music. Right.
I listen to everything. So what does that mean? What does that mean when you have someone that literally has every genre of music in their playlist?
That means you're a fucking normal person.
Yeah.
That's what that means.
Well, I definitely think it means that you're a person from because you and I are still in the same what are we, Generation X. We're in the
Yeah.
same class of understanding and what we grew up. You know what I mean? And I think that was a big part of my entire generation, is that we were listening to everything. You know, we didn't stick to just one form of music. We stuck to the form of music based on our mood. If we were really happy, many times it would be rap. If we were really fucked up, it would be rock and roll. If we were pissed, then it would maybe be like some death metal or Metallica, right? Or some straight grunge. I mean, like, it just really depended upon the mood as to which form of music. You know, if we were having a really good time, it might be old school country. I will not listen to 80s or 90s or even 2000. I won't listen to country that was done pretty much after 70s unless it was fucking Johnny Cash. Maybe Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings. But all this shit that came out, all that shit that started coming out when what's his name was putting out a fucking album every year. I know you know who I'm talking about. I just can't think of his name. He was like the biggest country thing ever in the 90s.
Tim McGraw?
No, the other one.
Kenny Chesney?
No. Are you looking
Billy
it up?
Ray Cyrus?
It wasn't Billy Ray, but you're close. There's one more that was he was the one, like, every year, and his album went platinum the day that shit. And this is back when there was no digital. So that meant motherfuckers had to run to the store and buy his fucking shit.
Brad Paisley?
I'm looking it up now. It's bothering me. Country. He was like the biggest country of the 90s, dude.
Vince Gill?
No.
See, I act like I'm not a country fan, but I just
dude, I know, you just listen
people.
like almost every one of them, which is no problem. Garth Brooks. And look, dude, I did a top 10. He's number 1. And I know you have to agree. Nobody has sold more fucking shit in the country. Yeah.
All the memories.
I do not like Garth Brooks. Like, the first time, I don't care how many people are like, oh, dude, if you listen to this one song, you're gonna like it. I swear to God, you will like you will change. You'll like this one. They play it, and I'm like, because all I hear is not what I consider. I told you who I like, dude. Like, Johnny was like the epitome. And I know that says I'm old, I'm not willing to change, but sometimes change doesn't make it better. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think some of the rap from the 80s and 90s is still some of the best rap ever done. And there's a lot of people that would disagree with me and say that some of the best rap has just come out in the last 10 years. I highly disagree.
I utterly disagree.
Utterly disagree. I think some great acts in the name of rap have come out, but I can't even think of one in the last 10 years that's come out that I would put in the top 10 all time. That came out in the last 10 years.
I can barely even name one of them. And here's the thing, right? The last 10 years has been so much of this trap.
Well, you have that Weekend dude. That Weekend dude's not 10 years old, and he's number 1, but I don't like him.
But they're not even rapping anymore. They're just repeating. They're just repeating whatever drug they'd like to take advantage of today. To a rhythm, and it drives me. I hate it.
Dude, you don't have to tell me. Did you see? Wasn't it? Didn't he do the Super Bowl 2 years ago? It wasn't. Yeah, and I was like, dude, when they put him on
underwear on their face.
That's how I fucking found out who he was, because when the act came on, I was like, who the fuck is this joker? That's literally what I said. I was like, who the fuck is this fool up here doing this? Because it was not impressive, right? And my sons were still alive. They're like, oh, that's Weekend, Dad. He's fucking huge. I'm like, that doesn't mean he's good.
No,
does not mean he's good.
Yeah,
I was utterly
I just kidding. And in fact, I'm actually in the process of editing a video about modern music and why it sucks, right? And the biggest thing is it's all algorithmic at this point.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
There's no real
It's
significant talent that goes into most of what's being created now.
movies are the same thing, dude. It's a fucking formula. You follow the formula, and this is what you get. I'm sorry, but I've seen, you I don't know how much you know, but I'm a huge movie buff. Like, I've been studying them since I can remember. You know what I mean? All the facets of it, writing and producing, all that. And they were great, man. They were really great for a long time. Like, when music was kind of taking a dip for a while in the 80s, some really good movies actually came out in the independent realm. And those guys became the directors of the 90s and 2000s. Like, for instance,
well,
I'm sure you've seen Drugstore Cowboy. Fucking great movie.
Yeah.
Now, back when it came out, nobody fucking heard of it. Nobody heard of that fucking movie, Ragnar.
Or Love at a 45. Or,
oh my God, I fucking love that movie. And that's Cochran from the dude that's in that, the crazy motherfucker that shaves his head. That's fucking Cochran from Dazed and Confused. You know what I'm talking about? The long-haired hippie motherfucker. That's his name, Cochran. I can't think of his first name all of a sudden, the actor. But he was also
here we
are.
But here we are, modern day, and we've got, it's like the soul of people has just stopped existing.
Yes.
The 100. things that make you, the music that makes you cry, they're not writing that anymore.
No,
the music that makes you feel something is not there anymore.
There's
stuff that makes you
music.
There's stuff that makes you enjoy, the rhythm because it was stolen from somebody else who already wrote a great song. But but
I'll tell you what. Can I say this?
It just hold on. It just doesn't feel like they care anymore.
No, not all. But there are a few. There are a few. There's always a few. That's I try to keep that in mind. And I'm telling you, I was curious if you've ever heard of. Now, he really doesn't. He himself doesn't sing. He will invite singers on, but he does not. He makes all of his own beats. Have you ever heard of the Polish Ambassador by chance?
No.
He makes music that is. He always gets people that sing really inspirational songs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to send you a couple since we have text. Do you have Spotify by chance? Music service.
Yeah.
I'll send you a couple, and you tell me. You might not be into it because it is kind of dance music. I don't want to even call it house or techno, but it is. It's beats, but the guy's got a lot of soul to him, and you can tell he's doing it with the instruments that he has before.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. There are some musicians, modern that I can kind of get. I love, right?
Who's one of the ones you love? Name somebody.
Chris Stapleton. Like, anything that man does is gold, right? Alan Stone. Holy shit, Mark Broussard. Unbelievably talented, right? And the problem is it's hard for these truly talented people that actually have something special about them,
something to say too, many times,
unless they've got a fat ass or daddy's money.
Yep.
It's hard for them to kind of go mainstream.
Well, it's hard for them to be successful. It's hard for. I see it as being hard for them to get successful without going mainstream.
Right. Yep. Well, and that's Stapleton, even, right? He was a songwriter, and people kept telling him, dude, you are so talented. Why are you not just performing your own songs? Right. And if you look at how many number one songs that guy's written for other people, it's pretty impressive. It's, that baby lock them doors and turn. He wrote that song,
right.
And, but when you hear him do it, it's like, holy shit, you should have done that to begin with and not let anybody else touch it, because you are a fucking killer. You know
what's funny? You say that. Now, he wasn't, obviously, I'm not comparing him to Stapleton and the entire sense of him and how he has, come about. Mm-hmm. But Prince, at the same time that he was producing all these hits that he was singing, people don't realize that for the time that he was around, particularly his hot days, the 80s and 90s, he was writing like a third of the fucking music that we were listening to for other artists. And he built so many artists by just writing them a song and giving them a beat. So
he wrote Nothing Compares to You, right?
Dude, he wrote so many. I was looking it up after he died, right? which is what we do. I mean, you know, I was really interested. I was always a Prince fan, but I only really knew him in the Revolution, and I knew that he did what's her name, Ebony Six or whatever name, you know, the one that was in the film. They ended up having you know what I'm talking about.
After he cleansed himself in
the
after he cleansed himself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka.
Exactly. Exactly. But when I looked it up, I was like, wow, he wrote they listed off all the artists, and there was like 20, dude. Some of the biggest hits from the time were written by him, like fucking Jungle Love. He wrote that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they performed it, but he wrote that shit. I think he wrote The Boys Are Back in Town for the fucking Bus Boys that ended up doing that hit in 48 hours with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte. Like, I was just amazed, dude. And a lot of his fucking hits that he would write for would be movie hits where he wrote it for a film for some other jackass to sing. Period.
Right. Yep. Well, the thing about Prince that a lot of people didn't really pay attention to was that he had like a commitment to being a great live music performer. That was his thing, is he wanted to keep live music alive.
Yes.
And if you ever want to just be, I mean, if you ever want to be just impressed, you know, go find some of his acoustic performances where it's just him and a guitar and making the crowd the instrument, right?
You saw him on his, because I'm almost positive he did a MTV Unplugged performance. I'm sure you saw that performance. And then did you see, I know Bowie's film just came out. Everybody knows that. But I believe in the last year and a half or 2 years, there's been a really good Prince documentary. I'm almost positive that came out. I'm going to have to look it up again. But it's funny to continue to find out the things about him because we're still learning. Like, at least I am. I'm still learning things about him. I just learned more from you today. Like, every time I have a conversation about Prince with anybody, they usually give me a fucking nugget that I didn't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But just what an unbelievably talented human being.
But a lot of people are like that. This guy, Stapleton, I have a feeling that is going to be. Remember how Jack Johnson, nobody knew who the fuck he was. And then all of a sudden, Jack Johnson, like everybody fucking knew. Same with Ben Harper. I'm sure that you remember when nobody knew. When he did Burn One Down, nobody fucking knew who the hell Ben Harper was. You know? And these guys now, you know, they've become, I don't want to say, they're not quite household names, but most people in the guitar world
well Stapleton definitely is.
Yes, but what I'm saying is Ben Harper and Jack Johnson, most people that listen to a guitar know these guys. They're excited.
They're excited about fucking something. Let me see if there's somebody at my front door. This is what video doorbells are for.
Isn't that the beautiful part of technology? I mean, there's sometimes that technology just, you know, it hits right.
Yeah. But but yeah, you know, I'm a musician, so I like music, and I respect musicians, and I have a really difficult time getting behind and appreciating garbage.
Yeah.
You know, the stuff that is purely beat driven, I can't deal with it.
Just out of curiosity, have you, because I don't think it's purely beat driven. I truly mean that. Are you familiar with an artist that goes by That One Guy? It's the number one, and then guy spelled out. So That One Guy.
It sounds familiar, but I don't know.
He built an instrument. So this guy studied classical.
You were telling me about this.
Was I telling you? Okay, so he studied classical bass, right? And went through a time, and this was years ago now, probably 12, 13 or more years ago. When you look at his first videos, he built this machine a long time ago. He calls it the Magic Flute, and he built it because he could not find a sound with any current instrument that man made. So he fucking made his own. That he has places on it that he has programmed so he can hit pre-programmed beats. But I guess you could say it's partly beat driven, but here's the beautiful part. He's hitting every beat with either this hand, this leg, or his fucking head. Like, it's amazing to watch this guy operate because he's a true one-man band that hits every note. And you're like, I don't even know. Honestly, it blows me away because I don't see how somebody could keep track of all those beats. And he, like, funny dude, I love the guy. He's so down to earth. Like, before he played a couple songs, he's like, all right, feet don't fail me now. Because he's like, he knows that he doesn't always get it right when he's doing both feet, both hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really cool to see. And he does sing, so that's what's nice. But watching him, you would enjoy a video. Even if you can, I don't really consider it beat driven though, because he plays that instrument like a bass, like a guitar, like a stand-up bass. Like, I mean, it's
well,
really
you understand
amazing.
what I'm saying. Like, I can't get.
I know.
I can't deal with
loops.
Yeah, I mean, if most electronic music, I can't deal with. Right? It just it feels repetitive. It feels, just heartless.
I had a really good friend, Jacob, that was that way, that he even said songs that just repeated like that. He didn't even consider them songs because, in his opinion, a song has to have a melody, or excuse me, a chorus and a verse, right? Chorus, verse, chorus, verse. And I was like, yeah, but things change, dude. If you listen to something for 3 minutes that made you dance around, how can you not fucking call that a song? It might not be your taste.
Right.
It might not be your flavor, but if it's holding a beat, then it's a song. If it's not very deep in the sense of it just has, a beat and a few repetitive lines, then I get it. It doesn't do anything.
Well, here's the thing about me though, and this is real. I have what is known as synesthesia.
What is that?
When I hear music, it associates in my brain with shapes and colors and that kind of thing.
Right.
And I don't have like visual hallucinations. It's just kind of how my brain interprets music, right?
Yeah.
And it's very symbolic. And when I hear things that are just, circular like that, it's like with almost any form of music, I experience the music. And when I hear some of this kind of algorithmic driven, nothing burger bullshit music that they have out there now, I'm just, it's vacant to me.
There's a lot of it. I've been calling it soulless for years, Ragnar. Soul, and every form of music has soulless artists, and then every form of music has artists with a soul. Now, what was once one, and this used to be the artist without a soul, it seems like the numbers have dwindled to where now the minority is artists who are singing from the heart rather than artists who are singing simply for this and fame and fortune and all the other things that come with it. And that's when they're, dude, and I mean this in no pessimistic way, but I only blame society, because if we allow something and as a general public like it, then people are just going to feed us more of it. Period.
Of course.
Just
if there's an appetite for it, that's what's going to become the norm.
Yep. I love it. Guns N' Roses' 1987 album has never rang more true in my head till just now. Appetite for Destruction.
What did you think about what were they calling it at the time? It was Axl Rose doing singing with AC/DC.
When was that?
And there was a nickname for it and I can't remember what it was. It was like
AC Rose or something.
Something.
Something stupid like that.
It was clever, but I don't remember what it was now.
So. No, I didn't see that. I was listening to them back when they actually first came out, because in '87 when that album hit, which I'm pretty sure it was '87, maybe it was '85. Either way, I was already a teenager. I'm pretty sure I was a little older than 13. It seems like it was when I was a freshman. But either way, dude, that album was so fucking hot. And then the album that they followed it up with, all I remember is that they followed it up with Lies. It was called Guns N' Roses GNR Lies was the name of it, where they first started right away going by GNR, right? And he said the N-word on that, and it just Man, it sent up do you remember that at all?
No.
No, yeah. So I think it was 89 when the follow-up album came out. Plus it was an EP. And what I mean by that is it was 4 new tracks, and then 4 live tracks that they already did. So it wasn't really, it wasn't a whole lot of new music, but and it was acoustic. I loved it, but he did drop the N-bomb. However, he did not drop it derogatory. And that was he was being derogatory towards people that, if it makes sense, towards people that would use it. You know what I mean?
In a derogatory sense.
Right. Like he was putting the people down that would actually believe in that word versus using it because he believes in the word. That's the best way I know how to say it.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense, but
it may not. But
you gotta know better.
You gotta know better, right? Like this is, I mean, dude, it's funny because I've been watching a lot of Key and Peele lately, right? And I love it when I'm sure you've probably seen at least 1 or 2 skits by these guys. They're hysterical.
I've seen them all.
Yeah, and there's one where these white people, they're in a bar, and these white people keep coming up to them and just like making all these excuses of basically apologizing for them being white and how great black people are, right?
Right.
And one of the chicks, like the very first one, the chick's like, like 20 years ago, you wouldn't have been able to be in here. And feels like 20 years ago was 93. It's like, are you kidding? Like, it's just funny because there are people, and dude, I lived in the South for a very long time, Southeast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, there's people still down there that don't see their first black person until they're probably teenagers. And that's why it's bad, because they're still like, the reason racism is there is because you're never going to reach every little nook and cranny of this country, right? With modern thought, that is. It's just not gonna happen, especially in like places like Georgia, dude. I mean, the fucking Ku Klux Klan. I was just talking to somebody about this the other day, right there in Forsyth County, like 45 minutes outside of Atlanta, one of the most diverse cities in the world, is the grand poobah of the KKK. A lot of people don't know that. He might not be anymore, but it was that way for years because they did a march back in the 90s. That shit was crazy.
And I'll tell you something that, as a bearded, light-skinned white guy with Nordic tattoos all over my forearms and such, it's been interesting how many people have been willing to just kind of share their stupidity with me, because they just come to the conclusion that it's
right. They
probably
assume
okay.
Naturally that you are like skinhead mentality, maybe.
Mm-mm. And I am so much the opposite of that it is wild.
If it matters, I've never thought anything other than the fact that you were an extremely open-minded and accepting person. However, you don't put up with bullshit and you can't stand lies, which is why you don't like a single politician. And that's all I'll say on that subject.
Yeah, I don't like any of them. That is valid.
Right. But
it's
not because of either side. It's simply, I don't like who they are because I think they're all liars. And
I don't like liars.
I agree.
I don't like
they
liars.
Do it for the money. They're no different. They're soulless people.
Yeah.
It's not, they're not doing it for the better. But you were going to say something. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to
interrupt. No, it's just, look, here's the reality for me when it comes to politics. And then I know you don't want to talk about politics, but I'll keep this pretty quick.
Oh, I know, but right? I did want to hear your thought on people thinking that you're automatically race heavy.
Well, I am the opposite of that. In fact, I am the person most likely to smack you for
being out of hand, right?
For saying some racist shit.
Right.
And not only am I likely to do it, I've done it many times. And I dislike people who dislike people for no good reason.
Yes. I dislike people who dislike people based on something that nobody can decide when they're born. That's what, like, who you are is who you are, and you shouldn't be judged for that. Now, if you don't like me because I like other things, that's fine. You don't have to hang out with me, but you don't judge me. Don't put me down. Don't say I'm less than or different than you. because we're all fucking born here, and we're all going to die here. Everything else in between can be different, but it really doesn't matter because otherwise we're the same, the fucking same.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at with it. Right? It's 2023. We've got we're kind of going the other way with all of the crazy. It's like all the people that felt like they were oppressed for a very long time, all the people that felt like they were having the hardest time, have everybody agreed and said, yeah, you're right. That's what happened. And as soon it feels like as soon as people started to recognize, oh, people are agreeing with us, but our part of our identity is being upset. Right. Now we gotta just keep plugging. We gotta keep staying angry somehow, and that shit gets old. It gets really, really old.
If it matters as much as I sometimes am, and I'll admit it truthfully, that I'm jealous of Key and Peele. And why am I jealous? Because they are both black and they are both white, which gives them the right to rip on everybody in between. And that's why I love their show, because it didn't matter if you were black or white, you were not untouchable to them. They made fun of everybody and every aspect of it on both sides, you know, and I enjoy that. Sometimes they did lean heavy, obviously, but I mean, you know, quite honestly, I think they did what they knew the public wanted.
Yeah, but you know what?
Wish they'd come back and do another year.
Funny is funny. Right?
Funny is funny.
And I'm such a big fan
of
like Dave Chappelle, who
Dude,
comes out
fan of In Living Color. Remember those guys?
Oh,
Mad TV.
Yeah.
Mad TV, In Living Color, like Not Ready for Prime Time, Dave Chappelle, and Key and Peele. Those are my 5 over the years that have been great skit comedy that really, and they were great because they had players of every color and culture within them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't know that one of the main writers for Key and Peele is a white dude. Dave Chappelle's partner is a white dude.
Yep. And
that's why those were great shows.
Well, and that's Dave Chappelle said some things that people didn't like an awful lot, and people came out of the woodwork and tried to cancel him.
Yep.
Right.
And that just made him crazy, dude. Poor guy.
Oh,
but look how much money he made.
It didn't. It didn't make him crazy. What made him crazy was the early days of the Chappelle Show.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Is he got crazy at the early days?
He came. Well, I don't even think he went crazy. I think he went. You know what? All of you are so crazy. I don't even want to be around you. I'm just stepping out.
Right. The money is not worth it. The money is not worth losing my soul.
And he talked about that at length on that Inside the Actors Studio or whatever. He's like, why am I crazy when I just want to get away from you people because you're crazy?
Have you watched some of his Netflix series that he's done as he's come back?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, literally it was, and I mean, no offense, but he made the right decision. Everything happens for a reason because he got more money with Netflix than he was ever offered with Comedy Central, number 1. Number 2, he did not give up his fucking soul. He kept himself, just like Chris Rock. I don't like everything that comes out of Chris Rock's mouth because he can say a lot of things that I'm not allowed to say, right? But that's why I don't like it coming out of his mouth. Not because he said it. It's funny, but it's because I can't say it. You know what I mean? I know you do.
I got you.
I know you did. Did you see his most recent Netflix special?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, a third of those jokes, I was like, Chris, this is funny, but I feel bad laughing at it because I am white and I can't even repeat the joke, bro. I'm not going to be allowed to repeat the joke. Do you understand? I'm going to bleep myself 5 times just trying to repeat your joke.
Well, but yeah, I mean, I enjoyed. I especially enjoyed the last 10 minutes of that.
Yeah, he really ripped.
Special.
He really ripped it in the end.
Oh my God!
But deservedly so.
Yeah, yeah, and he made some valid points that I think everybody kind of agrees with at this point. But
you couldn't ignore them. I mean, like when you make a good point, it's one of the things I like about when I get a chance to watch your videos. When you make a good point can't be denied, especially if you base it on factual information and the point is less of an opinion and more of a conclusion. Right?
Yeah. It's not, I'm all about having a fully formed opinion based on educated evidence, as opposed to this is what I believe, you know. Well, at the end of the day, yes, it is what you believe. The
Right. But
question
how
is,
you got there is
why
important.
do you believe it?
Right. How did you come to this conclusion? And is your conclusion based on other people's opinions only, or on the facts that you yourself have discovered are indeed true?
Yeah.
That's where I've gotten to the point. I've gotten to the point where if I cannot prove it in a simple test for myself, there's nothing in this world that I shouldn't be able to prove sitting at my home in this world at this point. I mean, I might have to go on a 40-minute or maybe a 3-hour journey to get to a particular piece of land or place geographically that I need for, you know what I mean? That might be true, but there's nothing that I cannot test. So every theory I should be able to put to the test, find out if it's true.
Well, that's what actually one of the things I talked about in one of the videos that I just put up is, is that the one you watched?
I've watched a few of them, dude. When I can, I try to leave you a comment to let you know that I was there when I do. I don't always remember to.
My thought is I know that there are some biases that I have just by nature of
your opinionated, but we all
being human, right?
We all.
But my biggest thing is when I start feeling like, am I rationally believing this, or do I just believe it because I want to believe it? I go try to prove myself wrong. I don't go try to prove myself right, because you can make anything fit, right?
You can always. I love people that rely on the statistics, because I'm like, you can make any statistic favor your opinion.
Yeah.
You can go to anything and statistically find ways to manipulate the numbers so that you have 97%, 93%, 90. Like it. I didn't tell you that I did a few things here to get this percentage higher, but basically it was all this. It's such a manipulation.
Right. Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm saying, right? Is there are things that I felt really strongly about that I thought, well, but am I right?
Yeah, I did too.
And then go and look at it and go, oh, fuck, I'm not right. And
I'm going to give you. Go ahead.
And just to be emotionally mature enough to go, oh, I'm not right about this.
Yeah.
You know,
this one's a stupid
and change my mind.
Here's a stupid one.
That's all.
No. You'd made me think of one, because like one of the first times for me, and I know this may sound dumb because it's not anything great, but I was like maybe 21, right? Now at 21 years old, this is Circuit 1993. Jane's Addiction had already broken up, and Pornos for Pyros was actually getting together, right? So to give you an idea of the time frame, I hated Jane's Addiction. Now, ask me why I hated him back then. I purely hated him because everybody else loved him. It was not based on ever having listened to one fucking Jane's Addiction song. It was simply the fact that everybody loved him so much, and they were so fucking into his Lollapalooza. I didn't even go to the Lollapalooza. I went to 92, 93, 94. The first one was 91 that had Jane's Addiction. I didn't go. I went the next 3 years after because I was so hateful, right, of Jane's Addiction. But I ended up meeting the girl that ended up dating at 23 in 1993, at the end of 93, funny enough. She loved him, and she played like 3 tracks in a row, and I was like, all right, I have to tell you, I absolutely love this is fucking incredible music. This is some of the best guitar I've ever heard. I was like, the first one she played for me, and you'll love this, 3 days. I thought that I still listen to that song today and love it, because it's like 5 fucking songs wrapped up into a 10-minute track. I'm sure you know the song. And I loved the content because it was about a concept that I started loving much earlier than the rest of the world. And it was the idea of having another lover into your bedroom. He had a threesome that was pretty consistent with his other lover, who was bisexual. And he was bisexual too, or is still. But nonetheless, like all that stuff rang true with me. And when I gave him an opportunity and did not form my opinion based simply on other opinions, regardless of what the opinion was, I hated him purely because everybody loved him. But the moment that I listened to him and found out about him, I've been a Jane's Addiction fan ever since.
Well, I have an opposite story for you.
Here we go.
I have always and will always despise Nirvana. I can't stand it. I think it's dog shit. Every time I hear it, I'm like, ugh, this is the shittiest band ever. Every
A lot of
song
people,
is
but that's not an abnormal opinion though, Ragnar. Honestly, there's a lot of
they're
people that feel
awful.
like they're, here's what I will say to it. I love
But
them for
wait,
their simplicity. Keep going.
Dave Grohl is great. Everything he's done since Nirvana, I'm like, cool, right?
Right.
The drummer was the only useful person in that band, musically speaking. And
You didn't even like the
the
lyrics that he wrote. You didn't
no,
even like what he was saying.
no,
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 really.
no. And I think part of it for me is everything that especially now, everything that I've learned about Kurt Cobain makes me go, fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy.
Right.
Yeah.
And when they asked his daughter about him, and she's like, I don't have any reverence at all for my father. He took himself out early. He didn't take care of himself. He didn't give a shit about me enough to not slam a needle into his arm. So
Right.
I don't want to have anything to do with that guy. You don't even need to associate me with that guy anymore. I was like, all right, fair enough.
Have you by chance watched any of the documentaries on the other side and like the possible angles that his wife Courtney Love had going on?
I've heard about it, and
You should watch some of them because there's a few out there that are done. Just having this conversation today, a good documentary versus a bad documentary,
Sure.
right? Because
Yeah.
what's funny is someone's like, yeah, if you saw it in a documentary, it's true. I'm like, no. Whoa. All you saw was another director giving you his point of view on fucking film and speech. That's all you have seen. Even if they use snippets from real stuff, that doesn't mean what you are hearing is real. Like, don't listen to that. And you have to watch the documentary and decide for yourself, I think.
Right.
But there's a few that point out a few good things that say, I just don't believe in coincidence. And that's all I'm going to say. I do not believe in coincidences. And there's a fucking ton around a ton of shit that involves Kurt Cobain, Courtney Love, his fucking gun, his life, and that whole situation. That's all I'll say.
Right. No, I get it.
Now, I
do.
absolutely support his daughter because if I 100% believed that my father took himself out when I wasn't, I think, what was she, like one? Not even a year old, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was shortly after her birth, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Or maybe even before she was born. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I would absolutely feel the same way, right? And what I mean by that is if that's what I believed and nobody had been able to prove anything other than my father took his own life before he even decided to take care of me, yes, I would feel ill will, like, you're fucking useless. What was your point? Like, you only made me to leave and not even be a part. No offense. Blind Melon, do you remember the lead singer? It is not. Now, if you look up his is listed as overdose. Okay.
Right.
But he had just had a kid and his band was taking off and his kid was going to cost him a huge amount of responsibility. And they had just become this extremely successful band that now understood the ins and outs of being a successful band, and signing means you have to produce. You can't just get fucked up and hang out in your room. And he was another, he was needles and everything. I mean, he was really strung out as well. And that's what he overdosed on. But I've always believed, you look at that last album, it starts off with they had already made the album, bro. So remember that. The album had been made and put out before he died. The beginning of the album is a fucking New Orleans death march. And it literally is a farewell speech of fucking see you later. I think he planned the whole thing. And to ensure, the one thing he did a little bit differently in his case was I think he did it with an overdose to ensure it wasn't considered suicide so that the insurance that wasn't 2 years old got paid out to his daughter.
That makes sense. But then again,
he just got insurance and it was, you have there's a 2 to 3 year suicide clause in every life insurance policy.
Yep. Well, along those same lines, though, I don't feel any of that disdain for like Sublime. Right.
And I don't necessarily feel it for him. I have a sneaky feeling that he snuck out, but at least he made sure that, because everything went to, if I'm not mistaken, like the royalties and all that stuff went to him. And I could have sworn that he got an insurance policy, but now I'm going to look it up later. Because now I remember they did an album, believe it or not, right after by the name of his daughter's song. And I know that all the proceeds of that album went to the daughter. So he might not have actually had a policy. You would think,
Yeah.
dude, you would think though, if you have a double platinum, I think that first album actually had gone triple platinum. You would
Right.
think though that somebody would have been like, hey, dude, you're on the road on tour buses and tour planes. Get some life insurance, man. You never know. Have you heard of Buddy Holly? I mean, just
Right.
so
Richie Valens,
right. Like there's a ton of them, bro. Like you've had to
the Big Bopper.
Yeah, but oh my God. Eric Clapton's best friend, Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah.
Stevie Ray Vaughan. I mean, that one, oh my God, dude.
The hands down like the greatest blues guitarist that ever lived. Yeah, that guy.
Dude, I still have two bootlegs that I treasure dearly, right? Just because that was back in the day when you could actually get really good bootlegs because they were always soundboard, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Straight from the fucking board. Oh man, there is nothing better than Stevie Ray Vaughan doing fucking, oh my God. Mary Had a Little Lamb. Mary Had a Little Lamb. I know you've heard it. Him doing Mary Had a Little Lamb is one of the fucking, it is just so fucking badass. Takes a fucking kid's, what would you even call that when it's a kid song like that? Jingle? Keep going.
Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was black as coal, yeah. And everywhere that child went, that lamb was sure to go, yeah. He followed her to school one day. Let's hope the teacher's cool. What a time that they had that day at school. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that obviously you don't know the song clearly.
Not at all.
Well, I tell you what we're gonna do next time, dude. I'm gonna tell you right now. If you'll be cool with it, we got to do. I had no idea that you were that musical, so I would love to do a musical special where you play a few songs for us, man, and we can have a
Sure.
couple mini interviews in between, but maybe play 3 or 4 tracks, do an acoustic jam.
Sure.
That would be fucking awesome, dude. You sounded really good, by the way. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I only got like 12 guitars over here.
You can't really see it from my angle, brother. Like, well, listen, man. I told you I wouldn't keep you as long as I did. We are rapidly approaching 80 minutes, so I know that you have other things, and you've got a partner in town, right? Having a nice visit. Has that been, just a real quick note? Has that been good for you?
Yeah, of course.
Cool.
Of course.
Cool.
No,
Cool.
good. Always good. I like hanging out with people in person when I can too.
Yeah, no, it is definitely different. It gives you the opportunity to really get to know their persona, not just the one that they put out, but their actual persona. So that's really cool. I did want to ask you this because we've had a long conversation, and I don't want to go off too much, but we talked about grief, we talked about loss. Do you believe in the afterlife? Just out of curiosity, what's your opinion?
I'm 100% certain of the afterlife.
You're 100% certain. So when you say that, do you also believe in a form of higher power of some kind?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do too. In fact, a lot of people are going to find this next statement. What's the word? Oxymoron almost, right?
Okay.
They'll find this next statement almost an oxymoron, if you will. And what I mean by that is, my son's death has proven to me beyond the shadow of a doubt that the afterlife is there. Put it that way. I wanted to get into it tonight, but it's gotten too late. But the amount of the number 22 in my life, I cannot begin to tell you, dude. That's not a mistake. That's not a coincidence. Go ahead.
I had a real life, real death experience at one point, right?
Right. You had we talked about this a little bit, where you had the what's it called? But you were dead for a certain amount of time. Near death experience.
Yeah.
An NDA. Near death. An NDE. Excuse me.
Yes. And that experience guaranteed for me. I know what's coming, and I don't need anybody else to believe me when I tell people that. That's okay. But I have since that day had absolutely zero fear of dying.
Yeah, because
because I
death,
know what's
it's,
coming.
I'm going to say something that's really fucking gut level honest. When I tell you I'm fighting, you know, it's just like I said a minute ago. We allow the world to see a certain part of us, particularly those who've shared on social channels. But I'm fighting every day, right? I mean, and literally, I get up every day and because I want to be with my son. But I've got three more boys here,
Mm-hmm.
right? I have a wife. I have two parents who are about to check out soon. No, not to be rude to them, but they probably don't have 5-10 years maybe ahead of them, based on health and their parents and where, you know what I mean? And they know it. They're very aware of it. They're not hiding from it. So it's almost every morning I come back to the belief that, and not the belief, the understanding that if I were to leave, that would, I'm the middle, and I'm the only one um, for these three kids, as well as these other ones. Like I said earlier, that I said in the tweet, all these people that call me pops now and come to me for life experience and all that, I give it back to them. But one of the things that most people don't think about is the people that are usually spouting off the most on positivity and all that. It's just like the funniest comedians in the world. Lenny is a great example. I know you know who Lenny is.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually the most torn up on the inside.
Yep.
It's just a simple fact. It's why, I've said it before, only with great pain can you understand and even have great joy. One of the tweets I did not too long ago was, I believe that those who've had some of the greatest, most horrific things in life are also the ones who have experienced some of the greatest, most incredible things in life, right? It's a give or take.
Yeah.
Give and not give or, excuse me, give and take. Karmic balance.
Let me help you with your comment about your son, though, because I don't know. I just kind of feel drawn to do this right now. So forgive
Go
me,
ahead.
but
No.
I'm going to do it. My experience with having seen the other side of this tells me that, and take this how I mean it, he doesn't miss you because he doesn't have time to miss you. And in the grand scheme of eternity, you're going to be there in a minute either way. Right? So do what you're supposed to do here for the people that need you because they deserve it.
Oh yeah.
And you deserve it.
All right. I mean, dude, one of the beautiful things about doing these things is, and I've said it before, and I've tried to say it every time I talk to anybody. When I'm helping these younger kids, and when I say younger, I'm talking about like 22-year-olds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Other friends of Skylar's that are having trouble getting through it and dealing with it. His girlfriend, other people, his brothers, But I tell them, like, when I say these things, I am saying them as much, if not more, for myself than I am saying them for them. Because if I say them and I type them out or say it on a show or tell it to a friend or say it to a younger person, doesn't matter what, or an older person, right? I'm enforcing it for myself. And that's what helps. It's in those times of darkness that what I believe really gets us through is just the understanding, and fuck the whole death side for a minute, right? Just here on life, if it's bad, that means it's going to be good again, or you're going to die and it doesn't fucking matter, right? If you end up dying before it gets good again, then it just doesn't fucking matter. You're going on to the next stage. You're moving on. This is over and you're moving forward. And I do believe that. I have a lot of beliefs, and we can talk about that. I would actually like to have that conversation when you do a music show.
And I'll leave you with one last thought on that.
Yeah.
My experience tells me that they won't let you get there until they're ready.
Oh yeah, well, everybody has their time. Everything happens for a fucking reason.
And I have the feeling, and I have this sensation that trying to get there intentionally
it's
not a great experience.
No, it's not. There is a reason, whether you believe in the biblical aspect of it, or whether you simply believe in the reincarnation aspect of it, or whether you believe in the karma, right? I'm trying to give three different viewpoints of the way that, somebody believes in this place that we live. Taking and ending it yourself simply to get there, even if it is the only reason, right? it doesn't do what you think it's going to do.
Yeah.
Best case scenario, you're going to have to redo the exact fucking life in a different fucking parallel universe until you don't fucking check out. You know, and when I say exact life, it might not be the same name, but you're going to go through the same trials and tribulations. You know what I mean? You're going to go through the same shit. It's just, it might hit you at different times. And that's, no, I haven't had a near-death experience. I've met a few people, and you're including now one of them. And I've gained a few opinions. Also, I've watched quite a few documentaries on the subject as well. So I do have what I feel like is my opinions on life after death. The one thing that I always tell anybody, though, is I don't care if you were dead for 20, 40. There's even people that have, been dead for like an hour, right? I think is one of the longest ones documented. You still weren't dead because you're back fucking here. You only got a taste. You only got a little bit of the understanding because at the moment of crossover, you were pushed back. For whatever reason, you didn't get to cross over and do the full journey of what it is to, to die. So, got to save that until the end, right? It wasn't your time. And in fact, I think that anybody that goes through it, and I'll leave you with this, I think anybody that goes through that, it was exactly what they needed to change their life perspective for them for the rest of their journey here. Even if it's only for another year, which I don't believe is the case, but my point is, even if it is only for a short time, or if it's for 30 years, you're living different now because of that experience, and that will never change again.
True enough.
So, hey man, as always, I absolutely love having you, and I seriously, I will reach out to you. I'll give you some time. I know you got a lot of stuff going on, but I really would love to do a musical episode with you, play a few tracks, and we could talk about different viewpoints of afterlife, because I still wanted to pick your brain. I was hoping to get into your NDE because I'm actually looking at possibly, just between you and me, I was thinking about doing my own documentary on it and trying to find some people here and getting some interviews and stuff. So thought it would really be interesting. And I'm sure you can imagine why I would want to do that with a son who just passed. So with that, thank you so much for coming. I'm going to close you out in the green room. If you want to stay for a minute, that's cool. I'm going to close it out. But if you need to leave and check out, I totally get it. Thank you so much, Ragnar, for being here, man. God bless you. Have a blessed day. Stay lifted. And next time you have to smoke at least a half a bowl with me.
I might have done a little something there and you just didn't notice.
Oh, I'm changing my setup, bro. I'm going to put my shit and put it on the iMac over here, but I use quite frankly, the laptop is a MacBook Pro, and I know you get this. It's more powerful than the other one. So it's better to run shit on that one. But I'm about to make some changes this season so that when I'm looking at people, I can look right down and see them. But I have to do this so everybody gets a real great shot of this side of my face. So
there you go.
Maybe I should get tattooed right here. Fuck off.
There you go. I like it.
Hey, man, 100% love you. Thank you again for being a friend. I've always valued it, and you've honored me again with another appearance. And I mean that. Have a blessed night. Have a wonderful night with your, or have a wonderful rest of your visit, if you will, with your out-of-town visitor. And thanks for coming by, man. Really appreciate it.
All right, brother.
Peace.
Bye.
So just to reiterate, Lucky did swing by. I don't know if he stayed, but he swung by, and I'm going to have Lucky on again Friday. That is coming. And the only other thing I want to say is, please, everybody, just remember that you are special. Even this conversation that we had tonight is part of understand, you have a purpose. Every single person is different. That in itself, the fact that you are like nobody else, makes you special. Just think about that, right? Have a wonderful, blessed night. I will see all of you again on Monday. And thanks so much for stopping by. I love all of you. Peace.
I switch here, I'm a strange fuck. Consist on ain't something I could say well. Throw my change into the wishing for a change well. Wish a day a swell life for the next come. And when the next come, pretend that it's the best one. Like I ain't even gonna try and say that to the next one.